Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna take a look at Avowed, which is the brand new adventure sci-fi fantasy RPG something, which, well, to be fair, is good fun. Anyway, without going too much into detail what this game is, essentially you do have levels, you do have stats, you have enemies, you have abilities, you have to level up and then you reassign points, and you do have a storyline that you can follow, and maybe, perhaps, there might be different outcomes based on your choices. Not sure, honestly. This is one of those games where art style of the game direction kind of takes precedence of everything else. So let's talk about the requirements. Minimum CPU for this game is AMD Ryzen 5 2600 or Intel 5 8400. Minimum RAM size 16 gigs. GPU wise, you need at least GTX 1070 or AMD RX 5700. For recommended CPU, it's a 10th gen Intel i7 or Ryzen 5 5600X. And at least RTX 3080 or AMD's RX 6800 XT. And that's pretty much all there is. Now, this game, in my opinion, is a little bit broken on every level when it comes to performance, but I think this will be just a patch and it all will just magically go away. So let me explain. Graphically, we're going with 2K native resolution. You only have two options: windowed full screen or windowed. There's no exclusive full screen, no borderless, no regular full screen, so only two options. So, well, that usually means something is up. Frame rate limit is unlimited, field of view is slightly cranked, no motion blur, no vertical sync. We are enabling ray tracing because I wanna see what actually happens. No upscaling as for now. NVIDIA Reflex low latency on by default, and graphics quality is on epic, so everything is cranked up. Now, you might think, well, technically, if the recommended CPU is 11th gen i7 and 3080 Ti, that this game should be churning out at least stable 60 in 2K with a 99K and 4070 Ti with no upscalers. Adjusting or, keeping in mind that RTX will usually ray tracing takes about 10 to 15 frames. In reality, you will be getting about 40-ish frames, while the game literally looks like this. So, a couple things to note. We're pulling 7 gigs of video memory allocated, 17 gigs of RAM, and CPU is actually using some sort of multi-threaded optimization. This game is made in Unreal Engine, so I'm not too surprised. And if you look on the right hand side, you can see the frame time. So the frame time is in high 20s, right? Which you would say, oh, look at this, the clear stuff of the bottleneck. And this guy just glitches past us. Nevertheless. So the reason why I'm a little bit surprised about this game is when you first install this game and just launch it, it automatically enables DLSS on quality, and it automatically enables frame gen, and the game runs absolutely buttery smooth, very high frame rate, and it definitely runs better than now. And if you actually disable all the bells and whistles, it runs like this. Now, you might say, oh, but this is a brand new game, look at the graphics. Yeah, let's look at the graphics. Now, be very honest with yourself and tell me that this texture is a high resolution texture, and this is what's cramming down the performance. Look at this. This is the wall close up. I'm sorry, it's blurry. It's a low res texture. It might just be a filler texture, to be fair. I mean, it's... Second of all, if you actually pay attention to the objects in the world, they're clipping. And talking about clipping, you might or might not get stuck in multiple locations. So, here's the fun fact. The game itself, even though it has a pretty funny, I would want to say, kind of fun gameplay loop, you can do a lot of things. You can have like different weapons, abilities, you do get different skill trees, you can put the points in and so on, and you can check your classes and whatever else. And you can make faces that actually look fantastic, all of this is there, but the performance is kind of a little bit odd. Even if you just walk up to the wall with nothing, you're barely reaching 70 frames. Like, look at this. Nothing in our viewpoint is being rendered as we talk. 61 frames. Now, you might say, oh, you know what, just enable DLSS. And here's where things kind of, in my opinion, proves the point that it is a little bit broken. So we're going with DLSS, quality, no frame gen, low latency, obviously enabled by default. Apply, we're coming out, and oh look, performance-wise, we are exactly where we were before. Maybe a smidge higher, but the frame time itself is in high 22s, 25s, which honestly is not exactly the best. Now, granted, you could argue that you might not need 60 frames for this title, but considering locations you're gonna be visiting and all the combat situations you will be getting yourself in, you probably need the frames. But then again, I don't want to, you know, rain on someone's parade, but this game does not exactly warrant to be playing on epic settings, requiring a 3080, and the only thing you see is reflections in a puddle, which honestly there's not too many in the game. I mean, I haven't seen too many puddles in my 7 hours that you can reflect the castle or whatever that is, and a little bit of ambient light scattering, like, you know, a little bit of bloom when you look in the sun, and that's all there is. And you can literally see all this shimmer around the edges of the object, which was there before I even enabled DLSS. There's no setting for anti-aliasing, everything is cranked up to epic, so technically we should have picture perfect, you know, at least picture perfect 30 frames, I would want to say. But here comes the fun fact. So, right now, we're getting around 20-ish, 25 milliseconds in frame time. Watch the magic. Let's enable DLSS frame gen. Apply, we're still on quality, and bada beam bada boom, look at the difference. 100 frames just out of nowhere. And the frame time is down to 10 milliseconds, sometimes 7, sometimes up to 12 if the game really feels packaged. But look at this, 8 milliseconds. Usually frame gen introduced latency rather than took it away, and we didn't even touch the NVIDIA reflex, which technically, by the NVIDIA's recommendation, if you're using the NVIDIA app, it's gonna tell you that, oh, but you need the NVIDIA Plus Boost. So you can technically do that if you want, but now this is just actually running better. And here's the thing, when it comes to the new titles, and specifically with the new 5000 series being out and DLSS 4 being announced, I kind of feel there's something going on in the world of utilizing DLSS frame gen more than before, and some people might feel very strongly about it. Because in this game you have a lot of different goodies, like you can literally be Assassin's Creed parkour master if you really choose so, and you know, it's actually nice verticality added for a game where you can literally use magic to shoot things if you so choose. I'm just trying to not kill anyone in here. And there's a lot of things, but the fact itself that it runs absolutely terrible with no crutches, that's where I kind of get a little bit lost, because boom, 30 milliseconds, 20 millisecond frame time, 47 frames. I think they're pulling our leg at this point. I think those devs, they're just pulling our legs at this point, because there's no way you can just, if you enable DLSS, it should be giving you a performance boost of at least 10%. We should be able to get stable 60 frames with DLSS on quality without the frame gen. But DLSS on quality, which we are playing on 2K, DLSS quality should downscale down to either 2K or Full HD. I believe it's Full HD for quality, and then it upscales to the resolution, which is Full HD to native 2K, and native 2K is not exactly a big upscaling jump. So, honestly, I just don't understand why are we getting all of this. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, we kind of are getting all of this, you know, it's not that bad, but the game definitely could use a bit more than 46 frames, in all honesty. At the same time, you know, even if I just, again, just to prove the point, I don't know, DLSS quality, automatic, apply changes, whatever the game thinks we should be using. And the automatic option actually kinda stuttered for a second, and now we're up to something. But you can see it goes up and down. So it kinda, I think, the moment it reaches a certain threshold for frames, it just disables it. But when you just enable it constantly, you get 90 frames, and nevertheless, it's weird. I think that, you know, for a game with requirements for 11th gen, i7 and 3080, these should not be the textures we're looking at. Like this is not how it should look like. I'm sorry. Like, I might be nitpicking a lot of things, and I know that people in regards to this game said turn down the foliage all the way down because, you know, all the plants and everything else is cramming up your GPUs, resources and whatnot. I don't think that's the case. Like, I think there's a bigger fish to fry in this game. In all honesty, and like the way these characters just kind of pop in, it's a bit odd. It's a bit odd. Like, if we're not using high resolution textures like you usually could get an HD texture pack or ultra texture pack, starting from Gears of War, then it went into Far Cry Ubisoft era with Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6. Then, you know, what's up with the the performance then? I don't know, but end of the day, so
If you would have killed me and all for a few coins.
Think nothing of it.
in general, this game is a good fun. I am playing it. It's nothing special, but it's actually, you know, not that bad either. Like, I couldn't actually say, you know, that, oh no, this game is unplayable. It's a good mix of, you know, have fun and scratch your head and feel a little bit weirded out in regards what's going on and how, but at the same time, you know, hey, which game doesn't have this? So yeah, the performance with DLSS and FrameGen enabled is good. Performance with no FrameGen, no DLSS is weird, at least on Epic settings. Changing settings from Epic to high will give you about 10 frames, give or take, 10 to 15 tops, and it will still keep going downwards. So yeah, just one of those things you might wanna keep in mind when doing it. So I do believe there will be a performance patch that will actually rule out all of these things and will make things work a bit more than they're supposed to be working as of now. But at the same time, it might simply not happen. So it is how it is. Just you know, just keep an eye out. Outside of that, you can still do all the things. You can still have combat. You can still have fun. And you know, no one's gonna be the wiser. But just an FYI, this feels a little bit undercooked. But yeah, at least, you know, you have some variety in the gaming world. All the characters are just spawning in or being drawn in for whatever reason. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Over and out.